It's 5 o'clock and we are here. We must have had our better half somewhere else. We have left them. We are here. So you guys are really serious about user experience, and that's why you guys have come here. So what I have for you is a very serious topic that I think at some point of time we definitely have to discuss in our story as a UX designer. Okay, so for all the people who are very new to UX design, or to the design as your career to get started with, it could feel like it's a little overwhelming, but that's the reality. So I'm going to talk to you about how exactly are we not able to elevate ourselves, provide what is the value that we were supposed to give as UX designers, and how we have not been able to fully give away the business potential that we hold at this point of time. Okay, so the topic goes as activated user experience. That's the first part I would like of us to remember as to what exactly is activated UX experience, because Praveen comes and says success centered design. So someone always has this term which says like kuch to alag karte hain. Yeah, UX को लेके कुछ तो ऐड करके बता देते हैं. So activated UX is something that I would like to talk about by the end of it. But in general terms, just to get started with, can someone talk about one myth about user experience that you have been listening? Design user experience. Someone. One myth, one perception. Anything. Anyone? Myth. Myth. Is UI equal to UX? That's a myth. Yeah? Anything on the lines? Go for it. Go for it. Understood. Yeah, no, I need a new myth. Go for it. But thanks for validating. Huh? Yeah. Anyone? Yeah, go for it.
Just a second, please. I'll give the mic.
I think we're loud enough frame.
UX is nothing but making interface look beautiful.
Lovely. Do we agree to this? Yeah. We actually keep hearing this a lot, and I think Praveen also mentioned this. He says that we are turning out to be Photoshop experts in so many ways, and people actually expect of us to start talking from the perspective. You know what? Forget about all of that. We do not feel really great to even have those Gantt charts that we make use during the program management or the project management to not look ugly, because we are enforced with the fact that I'm going to put some blue color to it and make it appear nice. Was it necessary? No, it was not required. But you know what? We have to do it because we are force ourselves. Like, come on, I'm a UX designer. I'm supposed to do much better with the colors in this point of time. Okay. So I'm going to talk about what exactly activated user experience is. And then I also would try to relate it with the perspective that what is full business potential. You know what? Vineet spoke of data. Have you seen that we did not talk about the numbers that we want to achieve? Did we ever say that give me 1 rupee, I'm going to turn it into 100 rupees and then give it back? No, we don't actually have that kind of translation at this point of time. Just imagine we had that kind of power. And then I would say that, you know what? You want me to conduct user centered design? Give me 1 rupee, I'm going to conduct user research. But if I do that, I'm going to translate that 1 rupee into 100 rupees, no matter which kind of business owner are you talking to, he's going to invest in you. So, what has happened over time, we have moved away from selling business rather than doing business simply because that's what we are expected of to do. So in this particular case, we will talk also about the fact that how exactly are we supposed to start elevating towards being a business driven UX designer. Okay, I think Prem already spoke about me. I am Shaik Murad. I am heading design at Experience Wave. It's Yeah, I think it gets a little difficult to translate to actually tell us to what this is about. EXP Wave stands for Experience Wave, and I have about 12 years of UX design expertise. I've worked with a lot of domains. I am to be honest, I mean that's what a generalist UX designer is supposed to be. He's supposed to be domain agnostic. He doesn't have to always look for the same domain that he had been working in the past. You got to be really moving fast in order to get across the fact that you don't have to worry about the fact that I work with some domain, I'll not be able to continue on the same domain at a later point of time. You actually have those skills if you have your foundations really strong. And I also have a master's in organizational psychology. So I answered Praveen when he asked as to, are there any psychologists? He didn't even look at me. Damn. Okay. So I also am certified at highest level by Experience Wave and HFI. I'm a co-author of book Business Driven UX Design as well. Okay. So have you heard that UX is supposed to drive business anytime in the past? Heard? Okay. Is this like a buzzword that goes on that anytime a new organization which would like to teach UX to you always tries to connect these two terms and then says that I'm going to make you a business driven UX designer? And this keeps on happening, which mostly means that we see the value that the UX can bring. We just don't know as to how to connect the dots and how to leverage it. And when I say we, right, it is not just about the UX designers, it's also about the people who actually see that they need a UX team in their organization, but they just don't know as to how to put it to the proper use such that they really can turn $1 to $9,900. That's the potential that UX design holds at this point of time if you know how to utilize it in the right context. Okay, and that's a Forrester study that says that if you have invested $1, user experience can actually translate it into $9,900 if you have used it right. We have been studying a lot of UX designers in the past 1 year. That has become a part and parcel of my work at this point of time because uh, I would like to really understand as to what are we trying to do in our day-to-day work as a user experience designer. And this is from a recent study that I have been performing with about 314 designers in the past. Anyone who is with an experience level of 3 to 5 years? 3 to 5 years? Very few. Okay. Anyone who is just getting started? I know you. Yeah, you're getting started. Okay. A lot of people, is it? So this particular study is about the fact that people who have spent some amount of time looking at how whatever we have learned in our theoretical understanding, educational backgrounds, how exactly should that translation happen whenever you start working in your corporates, in your organizations. And these are the people who, so the 314 people that I'm talking about have an experience level of about 3 to 5 years, because now they know that वो जो भी सीखा था वो अलग था. You know what you really require in that to work in a team is rather very different, right? And they can actually tell you as to all that was BS. This is not going to work. So almost 100% of them agree that UX has the capability of driving business end to end. But there are only 3% people who have been spending time tracking exactly as to are they equating to that business numbers. They could be going to a level where they could say that I am assessing the usability part of it. I'm assessing the churn rates of it, but they still don't know as to what exactly is turning into business numbers by the end of it. So one or the other way, there is a huge gap that we have been able to build between what we would like to measure, what we are supposed to do versus what exactly are we capable of doing. So at this point of time, if you feel like you'll have to jump out of your seats and then say that, yes, I'm doing less, I'll have to do a lot more, please do it. Okay, because we have been a really silent crowd. Okay, first things, if we have been thinking that it's the intentions which matter, and then why exactly have you not been able to become that kind of designer whom you were supposed to be? So good intentions, good motivations which are coming from your bosses in itself are not going to help you to become the person whom you're supposed to be becoming. And um, what actually happens in many places is you get started with goal setting. Do you guys create design strategies to begin with? Design strategies, yeah. So you have one particular topic that also says that I will sit with executives, I will identify what is the intent that I'm supposed to identify, what is the project goal in the form of numbers, like I'm here to turn 10% conversion rate into 20% conversion rate. I think that's what Vineet also spoke about. We kind of do this, is it? Why do we do that? Simply is because there are so many steps that we have identified in our work setup. We do it because we just have been said we are supposed to do it. We do not see any value whatsoever that we derive from that. And this happens a lot. I actually have a lot of examples where we have just been wasting efforts. For example, we create personas. Do you guys really understand at some point of time that you have significantly made a difference by creating a persona at in any project whatsoever? Have you tried to put efforts to turn those proto personas that you have created from ChatGPT into real personas and then use it in the right context that the entire team has started talking from that user's perspective? Has it ever happened? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in my 13 years of experience, work with lot many managers who were a lot better than me, but hasn't ever happened. Okay, so which mostly means that we have good intentions to become good UX designers. It's just that we have lot of constraints, lot of blaming which is going on, And quite a lot of times it's not me. I'm not the problem. Come on. I mean, we never want to see ourselves to be the problem people. But that's the cognitive dissonance. We always would like to find problem in someone else. So this is all about identifying as to the problem is within you as well. Okay. Are you following up with your design goals? Say you set up the goal. This is one goal that I had set up a long time ago, which says that I would like to achieve a conversion rate of 0.14. So I think Vineet also spoke about it, which actually says that if 1,000 people come to my application and start their journey, I at least want 14 people to convert, to take up the loan that I have set it out for. 14 people out of 1,000 people. And that's the aim that I have. It's a mediocre goal, but that's a very solid goal. You have been able to set it out. But what's going to happen? I worked on it for about, say, 2 sprints of time, which is about 4 weeks. And after that, I immediately was pushed into a next project. So all the goals that I had to set up, they don't matter anymore because my allocation again went out to something else. And I was 100% working for something. I'll not be able to go back and check as to whether after the development, was I able to achieve that goal or not. So what is happening at some point of time is I, as a designer, I'm getting really better at identifying what is the goal that I'm trying to set, but not achieving those goals. Okay. So because by the time I reach the point where I'll have to start looking at the fact that I have to achieve those goals, I'm taken away from there. And again, I have to blame my organization. So blame, yeah, I'm gonna play that. All right. And have you seen that we have moved away from the transitions of there used to be a hero designer who used to come with like he's a well respected person, comes to the organization, takes a look at the project requirements, and then delivers end to end solutions. Okay, amazing, good looking solutions. And the team is going to just check as to whether it is going to be feasible by the technology or not, make some changes, create some versions, and then start implementing it. We call them to be a hero designer. Do you actually see such kind of hero designers in your organizations anymore? No. There is no way that an individual contributor is going to turn into a hero designer at this point of time, because the culture is changing towards the fact that we will have to start collaborating more. People love to solve problems by themselves. You are not the only person who is going to be solving the problems in an organization. So what's going to happen is we are to actually build products, to build services, to build systems out there. The culture that is required at this point of time is to bring a lot of people put together, have their own specializations put to use, and then build amazing solutions, which mostly means that there is a lot of complex interplay that is supposed to happen whenever a good solution has to come out. Okay. And have you heard of participatory design? Any organization that has been practicing this participatory design, where you bring the user, you make him churn some screens, create some screens? Is that happening? No? Okay. Have you been a part of design thinking workshops? Design thinking workshops? Yeah. Have you actually participated or moderated into them? Now, what does this tell is participatory design, especially, we used to think that users have no clue as to what do they want in life. And we are going to let them know as to what do they want. And these are the kind of people who are actually becoming a part of our design setup. And they are influencing the decisions that you were supposed to take with design. Not just influencing, they also are allowed to take a pen and paper and draw those wireframes as well. That's what a participatory design is supposed to do. Can you believe we are going in that direction? We are also moving towards the fact that people who have not uh, a really deep understanding about design also know as to what kind of journeys are they supposed to bring in. Say, someone who has been a part of the sales team, they know exactly as to how to sell loans. They know how to set up the journeys, but they could do it for, say, manual representation. You're here to create that into a digital representation. That's it. That's the only difference. So these are the people who also are capable at this point of time to influence the workflows that you're going to set up as well. So which mostly means that what exactly is UX designer supposed to do? That's a question. And when such questions arise in the beginning, you basically would try to put yourself into the corner and then say that I am here to make things appear pretty. I'm going to churn the amazing looking screens, and that's why I'm here, because the rest of the team also is already doing what it is supposed to do. Now look, let's look at it from a different perspective. This is taken from McKinsey, a study that was conducted where founders and people who are relatable with the fact that they have to release the budgets were studied, and when they are asked over the fact as to how do you perceive a design team whenever they have to drive the business or drive the designs, not design team as well as designer, there are two extreme ends which are possible. One, we either are seen as mad scientists. What does that mean? We are the people who can actually isolate ourselves the moment a requirement comes our way, and then we spend days and days in conducting those researches. Like we build amazing hypotheses. I'm going to spend a lot of time in conducting those experiments, figure out as to whether this is going to work or not. And I have no clue as to where business is heading at this point of time. The goals have changed, the priorities have changed. I have no clue. So you have been able to create that gap within which the entire rest of the team appears like he's doing something. He's going to come back with some amazing thing which I'll not understand and then say that my goals changed. Okay. So I will look myself as a mad scientist. That's how, a lot of people actually see us at some point of time. Or mad creatives. I think this is something that we can all relate to, which means give me anything ugly, I'm going to turn it into pretty looking thing. And that is what is mad creative is. I'm like a design black box. Like give me a very random looking bad Google sheet, I'm going to make it amazing looking. That's what I feel like I'm responsible for as well. So these two extreme ends are not good as well. You were supposed to turn out to be a contributor, a strategic contributor to the business success, but what is happening is you are tactically just getting involved into places where your value is only seen from the point. That's not just the problem of the people who are giving you the work, that also is the way how you have been representing yourself as well. Okay, you must have seen this. I mean, this is not with respect to GeekyAnts. So only a select few teams get a seat at the table. People who are having real good power of taking decisions. There are only few teams who have design heads, who have design managers. You must be reporting to CTOs at some point of time. And there are a lot of people. I think Praveen spoke of it some point of time. So do you know that they will not be able to really understand as to what you are supposed to bring to the table? And why exactly is that happening? Why are the organizations trying to put you in places where you were not supposed to be? Why is this happening? Is this simply because the organizations themselves don't really understand as to how to bring the value out of you, or your past designers or you yourself have not justified your approaches, that you are mature enough, that you exactly know as to how to drive a business and have a say at the table? We are just getting ourselves really passive. We are just getting comfortable in our spaces where we are like, हाँ हो रहा है, होता रहता है, चलते हैं ऐसे ही. Yeah. Okay. And this is another problem that goes on as well, which we have always been blaming, where everyone is said to be responsible for customer experience. I have worked with quite a few organizations where the customer support team is rather focusing upon wanting to change its name towards customer support to customer experience or something else. But what they are doing is firefighting any issues which are coming. Okay. There are technology team members who are aiming towards checking as to whether the solutions are going to be feasible or not. User later, I'm going to first check as to whether it is feasible or not from the development standpoint. That I'm going to do it. And there are marketing team, sales team who are amazing from the sales perspective. They are selling things that you will not be able to deliver, but then they have been selling it, which mostly means that no matter how much ever you come back to me and then tell that everybody is responsible for customer experience, there is a user who is sitting at the end. He's actually seeing broken experience almost at each stage. Why? Because you have not been able to step up and then say there always should be one person who really should own the user experience within the design, within the organization. Why? Because if there is something that is going wrong, up until the time it is going good, it's okay. Everybody is like feeling happy that I have contributed to the best thing about my organization. But once it starts getting wrong, is when someone has to take a blame. Someone has to say that, yes, it's because of me. I have not been able to input it in the right way, but I'm going to rectify it from here on. So it's about the rectification. And that rectification ownership will happen when you get up and then say that I do not let the democratization of user experience happen. I own it up. I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to bring the best experience to the user that is out there. Okay. Should we really revive? Are these really connecting with you guys? Does it look like, these are certain problems that we have been facing? I definitely believe we should revive. If there is anyone who is really trying to be comfortable in their spaces, I would like of you to get up and then say that, no, that's not what you're here for. This is not an easy job for UX designers. We were supposed to talk to hundreds of people. know how to connect with lot more people. It was not a job that you were supposed to do by sitting behind the screen. It was not that. It was supposed to do a lot more. So it is really required for you to revive. And the first step to get started on reviving is stopping to blame. We have been blaming a lot of people around us. Sometimes we keep blaming our culture. Culture ही ऐसा है, मैं क्या करूं? Yeah, this goes on. And we have been blaming our bosses. You know what? I keep telling to him that, this is how UX design is supposed to be approached. And he's like, you know what? Let's not get into fights. Let's just, get things done. We have been blaming our bosses. We have been blaming our former seniors who have spent a good amount of time in the organization, set up some culture. And whenever you try to bring in certain change, they are like, but that's not what previous former designer used to do. Why are you displaying this amount of resistance? This is not required. So we have been blaming our previous former seniors a lot. Jugadu approach, we celebrate it, which we are not supposed to because we are scientific designers. We always try to move away from biases that we have. So no more Jugadu approach, but we still at least come back and say that, you know what, we just wanted to quickly get to the solutions. So we just found some quick ways and then got the things done. And that has been the culture of the organization. So yeah, it's Jugadu. So I'll not be able to do much about it. और इफ नथिंग इज टू ब्लेम वी एटलीस्ट से दैट मौसम बुरा है डिजाइनर्स के लिए तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं या सो at this point of time you need to really start looking beyond. And when I say looking beyond, it's not just about the fact that stop blaming. You will have to start looking at the fact that whatever the work you are doing, is it really adding value? Are you only experimenting with the way how the layouts are to be arranged, how colors are to be put out, how typography has to be changed? If you're doing this, I would request of you to start moving beyond, start looking beyond, because that's not where you are really adding the business value. Maybe if you are trying to avoid conflicts, if you are trying to tell that, you know what, ye wala fight, it appears like this is between that of the product team and the technology team because it is about feature prioritization. I don't have to really get into it. It was really required for you to be in there. Why? Because you are the only one who can actually bring that perspective from users. You are the users advocate in many ways. And if you have been moving away from that, it's time for you to start looking beyond. If you only have been putting out fires, so if you do not know as to what exactly are you supposed to do in this entire quarter, and you have been waiting for your product owners, your bosses to come and say that you're supposed to spend your efforts today on this, then you are actually seen as someone who is a tactical designer who is supposed to just get the job done as quickly as possible without asking as many questions. If you are stuck in a place where you are only delivering for, say, that particular day, that particular event, without having a perspective towards the entire goals, I request of you to start looking beyond. And if you are performing beta testing, because we have to perform testing, right? So anyway, the organization has been conducting beta testing chal jayega, yeah. No, beta testing does not really appreciate the fact that you are really doing it with users out there. So do not convince yourself with doing things just for the sake of it. It's not going to add any value. You will have to start looking beyond. And if you're getting comfortable, especially for the people who have spent about 3 to 5 years of experience, they feel like I have learned a lot of tools. I already understand as to how to run surveys, focus groups, and all. Look beyond. They're always, in order to actually become a generalist UX designer, you need to go beyond what a design was ever supposed to do. You need to know how to connect with your sales team who has been selling amazing experiences. You need to know how to actually bring that information when you build your digital transformation capabilities. So you need to start looking beyond. And I'm going to take it from a minute. So he says that you're supposed to measure, measure, measure. If you have not been measuring where you have been spending your efforts, those efforts are not put into any context when it comes to corporate cultures. You haven't done anything about it. Okay, so you are supposed to start measuring. Firstly, measuring requires you to set the goals. So start setting the goals. Measuring requires of you to start looking at, have you been able to achieve the success or not after inputting your efforts into it. Measuring would require of you to look at the fact that, are you making progress? Are there people who are supporting you in achieving that user experience? There always could be someone who would come and say, this is not required at this point of time. We are tight on budget, we are tight on timelines, let's just skip this and then get to it. Measure even that, because you know exactly as to how there are people who have not been supporting you to follow user centered design. Okay, measure digressions, measure lame requests. if people are coming and telling you that थोड़ा सा एक ID card बन जाएगा क्या, एक logo बना के दे देना, don't do it. Why? Do you see that there is a business value that is getting driven? If you see that to be a lame request, if it is not adding value to the business by the end of it, make sure that you subtly say no to it. Yeah. So make sure that you measure even the things which are really nonsense, because they matter the most, so that you don't have to spend this amount of time in doing nonsense things later. And when I say measure, right, uh, I think Vineet already has spoken about the fact that how exactly should we look at churn rate, conversion rate as well. There are more metrics that you can start looking out from the perspective that comes very close to business numbers. Okay. So you could get started on the fact that we can start looking at process. Do I follow the process? Because process is going to tell me that I did not skip user research, which mostly means that I could have created a better experience solution. There are SUS scores. Evaluation scores could come from your heuristic evaluations. Those are scores. Task success rate, error rate, time on task. These are all usability metrics. I'm supposing that everybody is able to connect, because usability is the basics of user experience. Don't say no to that. And if you think that this is not going to be enough, a lot of people are still not able to connect, because am I making an impact by changing these numbers? Go beyond. And then start looking at the aspect as to, can you impact customer metrics, which could come from the point that take a look at how you have been able to influence the CSAT scores, the NPS scores, and then see if you are actually inputting your efforts into making them change over time. You also could look at behavioral analytics. I think he spoke about the heat maps as well. There are business metrics where you could take a look at revenue numbers, conversion rates that you can impact. You can also look at support metrics. A good UX does not require people to come and ask questions to your support team. And that's what a good user experience was supposed to do. So if you can actually bring down the customer support volume, you actually are impacting good user experience. If you think that your organization has been spending a lot of money and time on training, if you can impact that, you will be able to directly equate to the fact that how much are you paying that particular resource in the organization. Have you been able to save about 2 hours? Multiply it and then say that that's the amount of money that you have been able to save for the organization. You can also start looking at conversion metrics as well, conversion rate, cart abandonment rate, as well as qualitative research as well. But you should move closer to the fact that I am trying to make an impact that is measurable. Up until the time you can actually measure and then say that it's because of my efforts that there has been a change, there is always someone who is going to overshadow you. Take the credits, go beyond. All right. So this is one thing that I have actually been seeing in many UX designers. This is simply because of the fact that we have learned how to perform user experience design, or there is a setup design process that I'll have to follow from some organizations. Okay, and the design process says me that I'll have to build personas. Why am I building it? How exactly am I using it? I have no clue, but the process said so. I'm going to do it. I have been following design thinking process. Is it to be employed in all the ways, all the places, all the kind of projects that you're coming across? Not necessarily. You need to actually have a culture that is open enough to accept that innovation is something that I will be able to take into account and then run business value from there. If your organizational culture is not letting you do that, you knowing what design thinking process is not going to be enough. You need to really understand as to there are about so many other design processes, which one to employ depending upon what project you have come across. You also could be running surveys, because that's the only kind of research method that we are aware of. It is not necessarily going to bring the numbers, the kind of value that you were supposed to bring from your research every time. Surveys are, like he says, it's a quantitative representation where you only can identify as to what is the user's behavior, not why is the behavior. So only in those cases will you be able to employ, and it requires a lot of money. So it so becomes that, have you used SurveyMonkey? Anyone? SurveyMonkey? Yeah. So cool thing, it has AI enabled at this point of time. Go and ask it as to, hey, can you give me 10 questions? I would like to run a survey. It gives you 10 questions. It has become really easy. And you are just considering yourself that if I know how to run a survey, how to run a controlled experiment, or maybe interviews, I would like to call myself, convince myself that this is it. I know the entire user experience. I would like of you to go beyond. And there are lots of other wastages that we have been doing. How many of you are really proud about the fact that you have been creating 100 screens in a week? Anyone over here? No, please don't do that, because I'm not proud of you guys. Don't do that, because you were supposed to really identify those 10 template framework designs and then tell a lot more story with your words. I don't have much of the things on my screen simply because I would like to make use of my words to tell you guys the story. Your screens were not supposed to be a replacement of your storytelling capabilities. You were supposed to actually just make use of some 10 screens, tell the entire story for the 100 pages, make use of that time for maturing your user experience practice in the organization. But stop wasting those efforts and then say that you have been doing amazing job. And you will also have to start looking at the fact that your job doesn't just end after handing off to the development team. You are responsible for whatever the goals that you had set up in the beginning for the design strategy to achieve that. Those were not for fun. Those were not just set up simply because the process asks of you. And if you have actually been stopping at some point of time where you think that anyway I'll have to just go to the next project, I don't have to worry about these things, don't even care about setting up those goals, because you anyway are not going to achieve those goals. So don't become really better only about setting up the goals and then waste the time. And you will have to start looking at turning credible, turning dependable. This basically comes down to the point that you start focusing upon projects that you are good at, that you exactly know as to how to drive the business from. If you do not know, if you are not believing the fact that this is going to drive the business, then maybe subtly also understand how to say no to such kind of projects and start looking out for the projects that you can use and then drive the business as well. If your organizations are not okay with you telling no, that's not how the organizations are set out. You are really open to actually tell that. You just haven't explored that territory at this point of time. Start learning how to say no to things. Your specialty won't dilute if you would invite collaboration. Collaboration is the key, that actually is the only thing that is going to make you a better designer in the coming time. Do not let go of it. If we are worried at this point of time that my specialty is going to dilute off because there are people who are going to decide on my behalf, the things that I used to decide in the past, now I'm not able to decide, then it's time for you to really make your basis really strong. Okay, make sure that you understand as to what are you here to take the grounds on, and then make sure that you start inviting the collaboration over here. And in order to actually get started on the collaboration, right, there are certain skills that I would like of you to get started on. The first one is learn how to negotiate, learn how to sell your designs. Do not only be okay with the fact that I'm going to build beautiful designs. No, you need to also sell them, because nobody has the kind of ideology like you do because you created them. So be okay with the fact that up until some point of time you sell them. Also know as to when to detach as well. Okay, also know how to bring change, because organizations are not actively just sitting to listen to you. Okay, they are not going to change all that culture that they have set up in the past 10-20 years. So be okay, understand that it is a slow moving process, and then you also are going streamlined and it's going to take some time. um, Learn user experience to teach, because many organizations do not really understand as to what is a user experience designer supposed to do, and they have not been doing a bad job by coming and telling you that can you turn that ppt into a better looking ppt, because that's what they expect of you. So what was your job to do in this case was to also let them know, sensitize them at all the levels, that ux designer is supposed to actually create impact in these ways. So if at some point of time you're coming and telling me that my culture is really bad, it is not letting me do it, I first blame you, because you have not been taking steps in sensitizing them. Of course, there are organizations which will not change. It is not necessary for them to mature from UX perspective. But there always are cases where you could try and then figure out as to if you will be able to mature it or not. Okay. And as you move forward, I would like all of you to start strengthening and prospering, especially from the point that will you be able to speed up the design churning? And there are ways by which you will be able to do that. Start setting up the systems, start understanding as to what were the ecosystem models that you would have spent a lot of time in the research when the project came to you, and then you would have spent about a month to understand ecosystem model. First understand it off, and especially when you are when the winds are a little low and you do not have much of a pressure on the project. So make sure that you elevate yourself to prepare for the times when you were supposed to start delivering very fast. And that's an appreciation that you will get when you actually can deliver very fast. There is a possibility that you could start delivering even at an innovation level as well. And start enabling the change. Be okay with the fact that it is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take a lot of time to understand as to how to change a culture. You are an active representation of a culture. You only cannot passively just accept everything that is coming your way. you are the one who is making it, you are the one who is going to change it as well. So make sure that you enable change, you enable adaptation, and always look out for the fact that today whatever you're doing is simply because you would like to enable yourself as a mature, serious user experience designer, and your organization actually uplifts alongside you as well. And that is when, in my opinion, I think you will be able to move towards delivering an activated UX, which has the potential of turning $1 into $9,900. And this is a serious thing where if you have been able to invest right kind of money in the right processes with respect to UX design, you have the capabilities of turning that up until $9,900. And that's what an activated UX is supposed to do. That's me. If you guys have any questions, I just would like to tell that serious ownership is the only ask. This is not for the people who are lighthearted. This is not for the people who would like to passively, comfortably just go ahead with the fact that I'm going to make here beautiful screens. UX design is a lot more than that. So let's get serious. That's me. If you guys have any questions, I can take that.